Hello and welcome to the Eye on the U podcast, the Miami Herald's Miami Hurricanes podcast. I'm David Wilson, and I'm joined, as always, on the other line by Susan Miller-Degnan, our Hurricanes beat writer here at the Herald. Susan, it's Florida State week. You're heading up to Tallahassee shortly, I guess, as people are
Yep.
listening. When people listen to this, you'll probably be traveling or already up there. Are you excited? It's always a fun week,
I
right?
am very excited. Love Florida State games. Really do. Love Florida State games. And I love going to Tallahassee. It's really fun. I think we get to actually go on the field before the game, which has been really fun because we got to do that at North Carolina State. I think we got to do it at North Carolina. I'm not sure, but we did. Does not allow us anymore. When for years we could go on the field. It was really fun. Talk to people. I got a chance to talk to people in the crowd. Fans love it, and this will be crazy, right? With the fans, they'll have a lot of fans there always, every year.
Yeah, it'll be Miami, obviously, as we talk about every time we talk about this rivalry. This rivalry goes and runs, and Miami is on a losing streak right now, and last year had one of its worst losses in the rivalry's history. But that doesn't diminish anything. I mean, I know Florida State fans, even the ones who are making fun of Miami, they always know that even if Miami falls apart, they're going to bring it in this game. Miami's obviously a pretty big underdog this weekend. 14, I think it opened at. I don't know what it's at now. Their Tyler Van Dyke / quarterback question looms over this all. But at the same time, and you kind of wrote about this a lot throughout the week. Not something you wrote about, but Mario obviously looking for his first win as a coach in this rivalry game. And the other interesting thing, which is something, like I said, that you wrote about a lot this week through a bunch of different people, is we've talked so much about all the new faces on this Miami team, whether it's these really exciting freshmen, all these transfers, and it's their first game in this rivalry. Obviously, you talk to Javion Cohen about the Iron Bowl. Like, some of them have played in some really big games before, but Miami always, there's not. Can you ever remember a Miami Florida State game where the other team just like laid down and died? Like that even in the ugliest of seasons, Miami got killed last year, but that was more about Tyler Van Dyke getting hurt early and Miami having no answer at the quarterback position, which is obviously something we're gonna have to talk about because this game feels pretty similar to last year in a lot of ways, but. That the rest of the team is gonna bring it, and especially like Ruben Bain's gonna be pumped for this game, right? Like they've got so many exciting new guys who are have a chance to make their first mark in this rivalry game.
Yes, they are all going to be excited, and they all are excited. Yeah, this is such a fun game.
Yeah,
I mean, they play their hearts out no matter what. Even if there are a lot of mistakes or whatever, they on whatever side, whatever year it is, these guys always play their hearts out. And I have seen, I think, low scoring games, or have been low scoring games with mistakes and crucial fumbles and special teams mess ups, at the end that cause defeat or victory. But it's always great, even if it's excruciating.
like way better than the
like,
other.
Like last year, excruciating, 45-3. I think at that point, I don't know, everybody reported it was the worst loss to Florida State in history, and I just I don't know. It really is so much fun, and I know they say they hate each other, but really, you don't get that feeling. The fans, it's kind of like a love-hate relationship. I think everybody appreciates each other, and there's a lot of history. 1951, it goes, and I agree with you. The freshman, oh my God, Ruben Bain, can you imagine? And I mean, really, Mark Fletcher, all of them, the offensive line. Now, we're not talking necessarily about freshmen, but they're going to be, everybody's heart is going to be in this. I think it's going to be interesting because Florida State for sure is right now, as far as injuries go, as far as the quarterback situation, which is obviously the most
Yeah.
major. Florida State is a better team. I mean, there's no doubt about it. They're 9-0, 7-0 in the ACC, and they're on their way. They're number 4 in the college football playoff. So right now, as of right now, if the year ended, well, they'd go to the ACC title game, but if the year they'd be in the playoff. So I don't. It's going to be a cool game. No matter how it ends up.
Yeah, and they've got some injury questions as well. We shouldn't dwell on it too much because it could that people will know that obviously potentially by Friday or Saturday. But their top 2 wide receivers, Johnny Wilson, Keon Coleman, both dealing with injuries. So Miami obviously having some very serious ones with Tyler Van Dyke. Mostly just Tyler Van Dyke. Obviously a couple guys
and running back
or whatever.
A little bit. You never know, David. And actually there are more cornerback. I'm sorry, Mario, but I'm sorry. I think the fans understand this now. When Mario says every week he's optimistic,
right? Yeah.
And it doesn't mean anything. Sorry, Mario, but so as far as cornerbacks go, Darryl Porter and Jaden Davis. Jaden Davis is freaking amazing. He's really good. And Darryl Porter. Both were hurt. Darryl Porter, cornerback, the medical personnel had to, David, they carried him off and lifted him.
Yeah.
Right? We could not, and both feet basically didn't touch the ground, but his left ankle was screwed up. I can't even imagine him playing. And then Jaden Davis, I'm not sure actually what happened with him, but he was stopped playing also. So those are their two of their starting cornerbacks.
Right.
And their running back situation for Miami, it always seems
there's always going to be someone out. It feels like
on Chaney,
everyone has been hurt. I think all 4 of their guys have been hurt at various points this year, right?
Yeah, I just pray that really for Miami's sake. Plus, I love Mark Fletcher. I just hope he's okay.
Yeah, he was awesome. He's been awesome for the last basically since he got back from his injury. He's been
but Parrish and Don Chaney, all those guys. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, this rivalry game. You go back 10 years. In the 10 years, this will be 10 years since Florida State last won its national title. Obviously, the last title by either team in this rivalry. In the 10 years since, this will be the 10th matchup since, there have only really been 2 blowouts, obviously last year, and then Miami, the D'Eriq King season, destroying Florida State at Hard Rock. Otherwise, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the other games were decided by 1 score. You had another Miami won by 17 up in Tallahassee. It was Willie Taggart's last game, right? Or not? Yes.
That's when the Florida State writer, who's not, I don't think he's the Florida State writer anymore, whoever came up to me and said, "Don't worry, I know for sure Willie Taggart's okay."
Right.
He's
and
not
then Miami and
fired.
Greg Russo went off and
he got fired.
That was it for Willie. But for the most part, even when these teams are pretty lopsided, Miami has been the ranked team more often recently. Obviously in that 2020 season, and then also in 2018, 2017, and the 1-point win, right? The Darrell Langham touchdown when Miami, even when these teams have been lopsided on paper, there have been some outliers, but about 70% of the time these games are really tight. But the whole, if you had asked me 3 weeks ago, coming off the North Carolina game, I probably would have said, or even coming off the Clemson game where we thought maybe Tyler Van Dyke was just needed a week off or whatever, they were going to let him heal and get right. Right. I would have said this game was going to be close because Miami throw out Georgia Tech disaster and North Carolina, they certainly could have won that game, as we said when we talked about it. A lot of self-inflicted wounds in that game. Miami had kind of been right there. Florida State was still clearly better. They're a favorite to make the college football playoff, have been basically wire to wire this year. But the Tyler Van Dyke, plus just the quarterback situation generally, I don't know. It makes it hard for me to imagine that Miami. I never want to say never in the Florida State game because there have been some bad Miami teams that have given Florida State a run and some bad Florida State teams that have given Miami a run. But it's hard to imagine. It's hard to see a path to victory against this team, with the quarterback situation the way it is right now.
Yeah, I 100% agree. A couple of weeks ago and more, whatever, I thought, you know what? Miami can beat this Florida State team.
Yeah, I mean, you were writing stories about how Miami still had a shot in the ACC, and obviously we wouldn't have been doing that if we didn't think there was like a 5% chance of it happening,
or some
right?
kind of shot. Yeah, I don't see it now. Because of the quarterback situation. Yeah. I'm not saying Miami doesn't have the heart, Miami doesn't have the talent. I'm not saying that, but I am saying the quarterback situation. Tyler is not himself. I think he's still injured, and I think psychologically also there's something going on. And I feel horrible about that for him because he's a really, really stand-up good guy, and he's getting horribly bashed, horribly. But I mean, I've been covering this team for many, many years, and I know, and college football, I know how the fans are when they get very intensely emotional. But this is like beyond. They are just crushing him, and I can't believe that. And we did ask some of the players this week about that, but didn't bring Tyler, of course. But I don't. Come on, I mean, he's on campus. I don't see how he doesn't know that. I don't see how people aren't saying things to him the way they're. I
always feel like the students are a little bit more understanding. Like as someone who went to a big high pressure basketball school, and the students were always way less pessimistic, I think, than the alumni and the townies and that kind of thing.
Yeah, but he's out in the world.
I know, yeah.
He's not totally shielded, and people are nuts. So I could see people saying, "Hey, it's okay. Don't worry about what people say."
Yeah.
I could see people saying that. I don't know. I just I don't know.
I will say it's a good thing. I mean, good thing you reported on those injuries, because like it gives a little, like, if not, this would just be like, what the heck just happened? Like, I mean, it still is, because it's not all the injuries, obviously, is why he's struggling. I'm sure it's stuff that is compounding.
Yeah, but it could have stemmed from the injuries.
It's compounding on itself, I think.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
there is that little bit of it, and there is a little bit of an explanation where, after the Virginia game, we were talking for a while in like the press box after, just about like what's going on with him. That was obviously his first. People kept saying, "Oh, he was terrible in the North Carolina game." He threw for like 400 yards in that game, and
the first half.
The first half he was spectacular in that game.
Right.
They ran out of steam in a shootout, basically. But the Virginia game, it was a lot of underthrown balls, right? That's like textbook, like
your back and with foot. His arm.
Yeah. It's textbook. Your right knee, it was his right leg, right knee. Hard to plant with that. Textbook, you're gonna underthrow stuff.
Absolutely can't plant, and absolutely is using his. I mean,
and then we came out of that game basically saying, all right, he can't throw the deep ball quite as well, but he should still be able to make the smart decisions and stuff. And then obviously we saw, I think, against North Carolina State, that stuff has kind of fallen away too, and stuff that you can't just blame on an injury. I mean, he has to get right, and I think part of the reason he's certainly getting as much criticism as he did, and there have been some bad Miami quarterbacks who have started a lot of games, and they get crushed too. But the fact that we've seen it with Tyler, and that we've seen him be good, and it just seems like he's in his own head, right? Like that, I think, is like where a lot of this, like, he's soft, he's like just kind of inexcusable stuff, because it's not a lack of talent with him, because we've seen it. We've seen the talent before, and right now, I mean, if I'm a Miami fan, I'd be super frustrated, but I also would, he's like Frankenstein's monster out there. He's like got a knee brace on, he's got his finger wrapped up. he's got some other injuries that have not
Well,
been
yeah,
reported,
not
right? Like he's been held together with
all
like
that happened.
scotch tape and glue out there, essentially.
Yeah, he had rib injury. I mean, people,
Yeah,
not everybody's writing it. I know he had I know
right.
he had, and I don't know but it was a bad rib injury, back injury
Yeah,
that
so he's
people working on. I mean, he was in bad shape, and yeah, just yeah, he might not be wearing that stuff, but yeah.
yeah, it's I mean, it's a very similar situation to last year, as we said, where I mean, last year's team was much worse than this year's team. This year's team is, I think, pretty good. Like if the quarterback situation was better, which is such a strange thing to say, because as we said a couple of weeks ago, this was a team that was, if they didn't get quarterback play really for the last like 3-4 years, they were doomed. The rest of this team has played pretty well across the board. The defense has been good.
Yes.
The running backs, I mean, you mentioned how many injuries they have. Kind of hasn't mattered because the offensive line has been so good. Four different guys for this team have 4 different guys had 100-yard games. I don't know if AJ Allen has, but 4 different guys you feel like could certainly have 100-yard games for this rushing attack. You know, the receivers I think are still probably like a weak spot, relatively speaking, but super productive. And Xavier Restrepo was on pace for a historic season before Tyler's injuries. Like this team has been pretty good, whereas last year's team just was not that good. And when Tyler went out, it wasn't like we don't have a shot. It was like, oh, we're definitely gonna get killed now. This year's team, it feels like if Tyler was the Tyler, not even from 2 years ago, but the Tyler from a month ago, this would be a pretty competitive game. But and you kind of see it again, similar to last year when Tyler went out, they went to Jake Garcia, and that lasted 2 throws before they pulled him out. And
That was bad.
and
Yeah.
and this year it feels similar.
Jake Garcia came.
And this year it feels similar because if they take Tyler out, like if he gets hurt and they're like, all right, we're out. Is there any guarantee that Emory Williams is like going to play more than 2 series, like before they go to Ja'Carri Brown again? Like it's not like Emory popped off the page on the day he played against Clemson. Like it's this situation where the backup situation doesn't feel great either for Miami, and that's the huge problem here. That's Emory made basically 3 good throws in the Clemson game, which is frankly kind of more than Tyler Van Dyke has made in the last 2 weeks. But at the same time, it's not like you came out of that game and were like, this guy's certainly the future. You're like, all right, this guy's was really impressive for a freshman in a really hard spot. Certainly, like mentally has all of the stuff that you want, I think.
Yes.
But you didn't come out of that game and be like, I mean, I didn't feel like there was a quarterback controversy at all coming out of that game. Obviously, it's kind of bubbled up over the last 2 weeks because of Tyler's poor play. But, I mean, Emory did not yank the reins away from Tyler in that game.
No, Emory threw 1 interception that game.
Yeah.
But he was very promising.
Yeah.
But young, very promising. And yeah, I agree with everything you say. I think, I think they realize Emory's the future. I don't know what's going to happen with Ja'Carri. I really think they need to play Ja'Carri, David. No, of course not start, but I really think they need to get him some packages, man.
The way this offense is stagnating right now, right? Like it can't hurt to have a guy that big who can keep the defense on its toes.
He's good. I mean, he will throw them off a little bit. I would love him to get the ball, and for some plays, for some wildcat plays, or for whatever. And I don't think they could worry anymore about maybe in the back of their mind the coaches really deep down want to redshirt Emory because he's played in 4 games and 1 more game and they blow his redshirt. But I mean, come on, there's 3 regular season games left. No. Yes, 3 regular season games left and a bowl game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't think you can think about that much in these days, in this day and age.
Especially when your quarterback is like the Walking Dead, basically.
Yes.
Like
Yes. And yeah. So, I would just like to see Jakari get in. I think we could see. I can't see them purposely doing some kind of weird 2 quarterback system. No way. I just can't see it because that'll get all screwed up. In my opinion, they could. I think they could start whomever, and the other guy ends up coming in. That I believe for sure. And then all hell breaks loose. Jakari goes in, and then it's who knows what it turns into. But hopefully we'll be like pleasantly shocked.
Yeah. I mean, we obviously don't know who's going to start. Mario didn't commit to it on Monday. I think both of us expect it to be Tyler, unless these injuries unless it just has reached a point where it's like you're way too hurt and this isn't going to work. But it kind of speaks to me to Mario. I kind of said this, I think, last week. Mario has done so much well, really in the last 12 months, especially. But obviously, in almost we're 23 months, I think, to the day, maybe was pretty much from when he got hired. Done so much well. The one criticism I think you could certainly have is that the quarterback situation, he walked in, he had Tyler Van Dyke, who was coming off a spectacular season. Tyler has obviously not been able to follow that up. Not necessarily due to the fault of the program. The injuries, obviously, as we listed off, plus the shoulder was the big one last year. Like pretty much every body part has been injured for him over the last 2 years. I think we've been very critical of Miami playing him through those injuries last year, and maybe even a little bit this year. But he's obviously regressed badly. Again, not due to the fault of the coaching staff or Mario or anything like that. But it's also like they haven't, they didn't, I don't think it doesn't seem like they tried to hit the portal. So they haven't added through the portal there when they've added everywhere else. Emory Williams, as we said, promising, but it's not like he came in and was, again, like stars, especially at quarterback, I think don't matter that much, but it's not like he came in and was like a guy who right away you're like, this guy's the future of the program. The thought was this is a guy who could be the future of the program. Seems the same with the quarterback they've coming in next year, Judd Anderson. Like they have not recruited that position at the same level they've recruited every other position, not portaled that position. Again, I think by design, like they just haven't tried. And Tyler Van Dyke has regressed. Like their handling of that position has been, I think, Mario's biggest flaw so far. And, historically, that is kind of one of his biggest weak spots. When you go back to what they did at Oregon, where they had Justin Herbert and he did not look like the Justin Herbert we see now. So like, if I'm a Miami fan, I'm happy about pretty much everything that's happened over the last 12 months. Except for I feel pretty unsettled about the quarterback situation, not just because of where we are right now, but because of where it seems like it could be next year. Like there's no guarantee Emory's going to be great next year. And
well, I don't. You're correct. I'm a little more upbeat on Emory. I think those recruiting stars, I understand they mean something, but I think Emory's going to be good. I don't think he has the arm strength.
Yeah, I mean that's like you. Coming out of that Clemson game, we both liked him, but it's not like he blew me away in that game.
Yeah, his arm strength. But then Jakari Brown has like crazy, dazzling arm strength, but he can't. Well, I shouldn't say he can't. So far, he has not been accurate whenever we've seen him. But I think Emory is really smart and like a intense studier and wants to. I think there's a good a really great upside for Emory. Now we don't know what's going to happen with now Tyler. I mean, I know that Tyler's plan was to, obviously everybody knows, it's not a secret, to turn pro after this year. He's not, I don't think he would get drafted now.
No.
Or I don't, well, I shouldn't say that. It's not, he wouldn't get drafted the way he would want to. It would be a low round if at all. And he needs, I think he needs to come back for another year. And I don't think after the way this is going now, and the way he's been treated and stuff. Sorry, guys. I know everybody says, "Oh, football, got to be a man. You got to suck it up, whatever." But I could see him going somewhere else for his last year. So, I know.
Yeah, I mean, it's been like, again, not his fault, not the coaching staff's fault, but it's been like a cursed 2 years for him, basically, just with all the
Yes,
injuries.
agree.
And again, like we said, it's not all the injuries right now. You can tell that it's not just the injuries is why he's struggling. But
hey, David, I really, he talks to us at the end of the game,
yeah,
and no matter what he says, I don't think I'm going to tweet out his quotes anymore or videos. I didn't mean to, like, no matter what, if he's looking forlorn, should he look happy and upbeat? Should he be really hyped up after last week's game? I mean,
yeah.
People go nuts. He's out of it. Look at his eyes, or whatever. Or he's, if he says something that's honest, people go nuts. They'll take it the wrong way, no matter what he says. If he says,
yeah, I'll say the one thing that I like, the fact that he comes out there after every game and talks about it, like, and does not make excuses at all.
Yeah,
It's college football. Guys skip press conferences all the time.
what's he supposed to say? What's he
exactly.
I think
I mean, again, we're not in the locker room, and I know he can be kind of like not the warmest, friendliest guy in the world. People obviously really like him. He's been a good leader, I think, for the last couple of years. But I don't know. To me, like, the way he's talking after games and during the week, I think he's handling it kind of the right way. He knows he's not playing, like you said, what do you want him to say? He knows he's not playing well. If he could play better right now, he would. Like, again, like, what's he supposed to say?
and the thing,
and he's not making excuses, which is to me the biggest thing. He's not talking about the injuries at all. He has not thrown Josh Gaddis under the bus once last year. Last year, like,
and by the way,
he's had a lot of excuses, so, like, and he hasn't made a lot of them.
No, he doesn't, and he isn't. When you say he's not the word, well, people have different personalities, so
right, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm not saying it's bad.
It's not like an Emery. Oh, gee,
yeah, exactly.
No, the world's wonderful. This is so great. And he is. I can't help but love Emery Williams.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Tyler. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying he can be a personality who, if you don't know.
He's cool. He's not even cool. He's not cold. He's just he's more of an inward, a little shy, or a little quiet. He's a little quieter, always nice whenever I've seen him. Whenever, for the last few years on campus, whatever, just comes up, talks, wants to talk, smiling. I mean, I like it. But I did want to say that about Shannon Dawson. People think he's been disappointing, and I think they're right. The last few games, I think they need to change it up a little, and Shannon Dawson needs to do something to help him.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder. We talk. I mean, we both. I think on this podcast, or just, I don't remember if it was on this podcast or just talking, but, like, we raved about his game plan in the Clemson game, I think, and the Clemson game, and what was the game right before the Clemson game?
One of the first games when he had the first play I don't know, he had some cool plays, but not
just
lately.
The way, I think, and I think part of it is probably he's like, all right, we've got Tyler Van Dyke, like, we can run everything, right? We can run our offense again. We can we can take shots and all that kind of stuff. Like, the Clemson game, they designed that game so that Emery Williams didn't have to make tough decisions. They leaned on the running game. Obviously Florida State defense is probably better than Clemson's defense, or at least comparable. Like, you can't just do that and expect to beat a Florida State team that has a really good offense and a really good defense. You could beat Clemson that way because Clemson's offense was atrocious. But I mean, they gotta, like, I think they've had smart game plans when it was Emery. There was early in the year when Tyler was struggling a little bit, and they really, I think maybe it was week 2, got him going, like, short passes build the confidence.
Yeah.
I think there are ways to get him going again. I mean, again, we're not behind the scenes. We don't know if his confidence is totally shot. We don't know if that leg, like, how bad the leg is. We don't know how bad the ribs are. We have no sense of how bad the ribs are, because that's not something where you're wearing a brace or anything either. But yeah, I think they've got to help him. He's obviously got to help them, but they've got to help him, I think, out a little bit here. Because if they go away from him, they're going to run a really vanilla offense with Emory Williams, right? Like, might as well see if Tyler can run that and get him going a little bit.
Yeah, totally true. I'd like to see maybe some creativity, and Tyler can't. If his arm is whatever, he just those, at least from last week, the long passes or whatever are not.
Every one of them, it feels like it's getting intercepted right now.
They're underthrown.
Yeah,
they're underthrown, and believe me, the Florida State defense knows it. So they're just licking their chops right now. Anyway, I'm just hoping for a pleasant surprise.
Yeah,
I really am.
You got anything else before we wrap things up here?
Let's see. Well, we have. After this, we said we only have 3 games left, and there's only 1 home game left.
Yeah.
Against Louisville.
Yeah, a good Louisville team, and then obviously up.
Where are they ranked? They're ranked like 14th.
Yeah, 13, something like that.
I don't know what they are. They're ranked pretty high. So, and they're pretty good. So Louisville, and then Boston College, who has won 5 games in a row. I have to look at their schedule. Actually, I got to do all that stuff now. But on the road. But on a bright note, for people like you and me, the games are at noon.
Yeah.
I don't think fans love that, but the games are at noon. The next 2 games after Florida State. No,
Well, yes. It was at noon. Yeah.
The last 2 regular season games are at noon. So, and then it's bowl time. Oh my God, David, they could a bowl time, and who knows? I mean, Florida State, Louisville. I don't know what their final record's going to be. It should be interesting.
It's just it's crazy how fast the season has gone, but it's also felt like it's been like how many times has the narrative changed on this Miami team? Like, honestly, just in the last month, basically. Like, the first month was all good vibes, and then it obviously from Georgia Tech to Clemson to it was like every week was something crazy.
By the way, and I know we got to go, but Tyler is not the only one getting grief. So is Mario Cristobal. So they're coming out of the woodwork.
I gotta say, I kind of feel bad for him. And I,
you do.
Mario's dug his own grave in a lot of ways, I think. But anytime a late game situation comes about, people are like racing to the TV to see how Mario Cristobal's got to handle it after that Georgia Tech game. Because there've been. I think you can make excuses for some of the other ones, right? That Clemson game, they basically kneeled it out at the end instead of taking a shot with Emory. And then, was it the next Virginia game? I don't remember. There were a couple of those where it's like they managed the clock weird late in games, and it's a thing on college football internet, I think.
Yeah, I don't feel too bad, but that's
he dug his own grave. I mean, the Georgia Tech thing that will be the thing that's remembered from this season, unless they beat Florida State, I think, this weekend.
That will be remembered for infinity. I don't know.
Exactly.
That will be remembered for a long time. Yeah. So,
all right. I think we can close things out there. You can follow Susan on Twitter at @SMillerDegnan. She'll be up in Tallahassee this weekend. So if you're up there, say hi. You can follow me on Twitter at DBWilson2. I won't be in Tallahassee. I'm kind of bummed I'm not going up to Tallahassee, but what can you do? I'm
bummed too.
You'll have fun. You're commuting. You're commuting with a friend of the show, Manny Navarro, so that'll be yes, I'm sure. I mean, I've made some road trips with you guys before and know those are
Manny and I are doing. We're doing a road trip, so this should be really fun. Yeah. Believe me, a lot of impersonations. Okay.
All right. Thanks again for listening. We'll talk to you guys next week.